This is Jay Michaels, and I'm back here during Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival week. That's right, next week, the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival number 46 begins its voyage. Now, when you think of film festivals, you immediately think of things like Cannes and Tribeca, I'm sure. But when you think about prestigious film festivals, you add Boston Sci-Fi to it. Boston Sci-Fi is the longest running genre film festival in America, and it is only the second longest running film festival of this kind in the world. You go to bostonsci-fi.com to find out about tickets, to find out about events, to find out about a really amazing festival. Now, I have here with me three amazing filmmakers, and I'd love to hear about what's going on with their projects. Amara Mesnik, am I pronouncing it correct?
Yep, Amara Mesnik.
Well, that's one for me. Tell us about your movie. What's happening?
So my movie is called In Suspension. It's the story of a girl who is living in a world that's divided by social class. So lower classes can see higher classes, but higher classes can't see or interact with lower classes. And she falls in love with somebody in a different class and can only remember him in her dreams. So it's sort of a story about human connection and the lengths someone will go in order to pursue that connection.
Wow. I'm not going to insult you and ask you what's your inspiration, because this is the deepest parable within us. In some cases, this is clawed into history, but the idea of knowing them in their dreams, of not being able to see them, things like that, that's fascinating. Where did you get your ideas from for this? What was the brilliance?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the idea pretty much came about when I was living in New York. I still live in New York. When I was going to school at NYU, just sort of seeing the way that society in cities is pretty stratified in terms of social class and the people that you interact with. There's a lot of times when, you're very aware of the distinction between your class and your sort of level of society and someone else, like the people who you might see sleeping on the streets, as opposed to the people who have private cars and transportation that are passing right by them who would never see them. So that was sort of the idea for the world. And the idea for the story in terms of the relationship came from, exactly that, is just sort of humans always longing for love and always finding love in the strangest and, most far-fetched places sometimes, but also something as close as right next to you, perhaps something that you can't necessarily see right away. So that was sort of the idea for that. And in terms of the dreaminess, I've always loved to put lots of dreams and sort of rainbows and stuff like that into my work. So there's a lot of that in terms of the dreams and the prism. Yeah.
I really think that's a brilliant parable, because how many times do we get the illusion or illusion, depending on how you look at it, of not seeing the other class, of not knowing the poverty that goes on, of not knowing the pain that someone else is going through. So you sort of gave us this fantastical parable of what we deal with every day. Wow. Excellent. Really great. When does it open? When does it run?
It's running in the Tango short film block, which is on Saturday, February 13th at 5 p.m.
Oh, Valentine's weekend.
Yes.
a love story during Valentine's Day weekend. Perfect.
Definitely.
Wow. That is really great. Wow. Very clever. Very, very clever. Alexander Singh, tell me about your film.
I'm here with a short film called The Appointment. It's a dark cautionary tale about a rather curmudgeonly writer named Henry Salt, who one day wakes up after a disturbing dream and finds an entry in his diary. He has an appointment at a very strange restaurant at 12 o'clock, but he can't make out the name of the person whom he's meeting, and this leaves him with a lingering anxiety. And so the film is his pursuit to discover who it is that he's meeting and what is the meaning behind all of this. It's a sort of cautionary tale in the style of Roald Dahl or a 19th century doppelganger story. Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that, because there was a Roald Dahl story that I loved about a man with a tattoo, and the tattoo was designed on him by a famous artist. And I won't go into the story there or anything like that, but the way you describe this has that same same very mysterious, very uncomfortable air.
Mhm.
What's the parable behind this? What are you trying to tell us when you say cautionary tale? What are we cautioned against?
Well, actually, it's sort of about the malaise that people in long-term monogamous relationships often have. They're sort of getting used to one another and not seeing the other person, as it were. The idea is that in the meantime, he has been paying so little attention to his wife that he doesn't see her anymore, and whereas the antagonist character does. And that's the sort of theme below the theme, as it were.
That's very interesting. I thought it was also, well, I guess it all flows together. I think if I did a pop quiz, if you could all tell me the telephone numbers of all your friends in your phone, then you win a prize, because so many of us don't remember numbers, don't remember names, don't remember anything, because we can just press a button and there they go. So you're hitting us where we live on a lot of levels. And I'm seeing two parallel stories, if you will, about not seeing the other person. James Graham. Oh, I'm sorry, Alexander. When is your film running?
Oh,
Thursday, February 11th to Monday, February 15th.
I have a little spirit whispering in my ear. Thursday,
February 11th
February 11th.
to Monday, February 15th.
Till Monday, February 15th.
Excellent. It's nice that your agent is right there to be able to.
It's actually my wife. She's coming to you.
And it's so funny. We couldn't see her, just like the character. Well, anyway, James Graham, tell us about your film.
So my film is called Aeon. And
Speak a little louder.
my film is called Aeon. And it's the story of, it takes place after Earth has become uninhabitable due to global warming and all of the things we suffer from now, basically. And a group of colonists has left, and they're establishing a new home on this distant planet. And the story follows Aeon, who's the first and only child to be born on this planet. His mother, Sarah, was the lead biologist on their mission, but she tragically died while in search of a cure for a blight that has made them unable to grow food on the planet. So they're kind of left with whatever resources they arrived with. And the movie picks up years later, where we find Aeon, frantically trying to finish her work as things become really dire. But as he searches deeper and deeper into the world that they called home, he starts to find things that lead him to believe they may not be alone there.
You shocked me when you said the Earth is now uninhabitable and they're going to a planet where they can't have food or anything like that. You look like such a nice guy. Why such a dire thought? Why are you handing us this dire thought? What was the inspiration for you to create this dystopian world?
A lot of the inspiration was definitely, a lot of other science fiction movies, like Interstellar, or like the world of Blade Runner a little bit. The movie Annihilation, and then stylistically, this movie Prospect that came out a couple years ago.
We can go all the way back to When Worlds Collide in the 50s.
Countless movies.
So you've taken this parable, but you kind of shook it hard.
Yeah, and it was, it kind of was an inspiration for the time that we live in, and kind of, a hyper, overblown version of it. And the focus of the movie really is on this mother-son relationship, is a lot of it, at least. And that, was inspired by my relationship with my mom. And it came out of, I'd say, like a kind of a sense of anxiety and fear, I think, that a lot of people have nowadays with everything going on, and like, a feeling of powerlessness, and, trying to find a solution to that when things feel so much bigger than you. And what small things can you do along the way to kind of make a difference when you kind of, don't feel like you can.
You go from one pessimism to another, but I see a glimmer of hope. You talk about the uninhabitable Earth, and you talk about the lack of food, but they are not alone on this new planet. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, yeah, and the kind of question that we had in mind as we wrote this and then, continued to make it was humans in general on Earth. If you go back all the way in history, we kind of take what we want, and then, we don't really do anything to, make up for that. I mean, we have little regard for the things that we may affect in our actions, or the people we may affect. And so it's kind of the idea of, well, we mess things up on our planet, we go to another one to try and start new. Is it the same thing just going to keep happening? And these other creatures potentially very much so play into that idea.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm hearing a twist ending that might happen. I'll go no further than that. When is your film going up?
It's going to be showing in the Oscars short program on Friday, I believe that's the 12th, at 5 p.m.
That's interesting. You're also Valentine's weekend, but it sounds like it's a sad goodbye to our relationship with the Earth.
Less of a romance in this one, but yeah, definitely some sorrow.
Wow, that is really great. I want to thank you all very much for chatting with me. I'm really fascinated by the parables that one sees in science fiction. I think, and I'm so glad, James, that you mentioned so many classics. I think if we had just watched Contagion a little harder, or maybe twice, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation, but we don't. And from what I see, all three of your movies have these very powerful parables that people really need to listen to, or else. And I wish you great luck with this, and I can't wait to see the films. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get tickets for these and other exciting films in Boston Sci-Fi 46, go to bostonscifi.com. There's schedules, there's tickets, there's events, there's panels, there's all sorts of good things. This interview, along with many others and other Boston Sci-Fi events, will be on Channel I. Go to jmichaelsarts.com, jmichaelsarts.com, and click on the link, and you'll find info about Boston Sci-Fi and other such independent programs. And while you're there, please press subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. All the best on your films, and they're all short films, yes? Love short films. It's like you're just watching The Twilight Zone over and over again. Be brilliant, and I can't wait to see what happens with all of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.